progress.
Okay, the time is now 1:30. The Washoe County Open Space and Regional Parks Commission meeting is now in session. We will start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Commissioner Dake, would you please lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Dake. Before we get to a roll call, I would like to introduce our new commissioner, Jennifer Uvera. Welcome, Jennifer.
Thank you so much.
Very well. Mr. Roman, the roll call, please.
Chris Baker. Present. Timothy Dake.
Present.
Miles Gertler.
Present.
Sean Hill.
Present.
Kevin Joel.
Okay.
Kevin, go ahead. Go ahead and unmute. I see your hand raised, Kevin. But I don't hear any audio. We'll come back to Kevin, but he is online, just no audio.
I don't know if you can hear me, Brandon,
Yes,
but
I can hear you now.
I have no sound.
That's okay. We have your sound now. Are you here? Hello? Oh, we lost you again. Well, why don't you work on it? But excuse me. Neil Jones.
Present.
Tracy Kuzinski. Present. Lisa Rohde.
This is Lisa Rohde. I have no sound either.
Hold on.
Can you?
All right. Can you guys unmute?
Yes.
Okay, I hear you. And
This is
then
Commissioner
also,
Jules.
Jennifer Uvera. Excellent. And Commissioner Garcia, I spoke with her. She will not be able to be here today. And we have a quorum.
Very well. Instructions for providing public comment.
These are the Zoom instructions for providing public comment. This meeting will be held in the County Commission chambers via Zoom. To attend this meeting via Zoom, please log into the Zoom webinar using the link found on the agenda. You can also join the meeting by typing zoom.us into your computer browser, clicking Join a Meeting on the Zoom website, and entering this meeting ID, 898-2690-0042. Alternatively, you can join the meeting via telephone only by dialing 1-669-900-9128. Entering the meeting ID 898-2690-0042 and pressing pound. For those wishing to provide public comment via Zoom, log into the Zoom webinar using the link on the agenda and utilize the raise hand feature during any public comment period. To provide public comment via telephone only, press star 9 to raise your hand and star 6 to mute or unmute.
Thank you, Mr. Roman. Any public comment?
I have no public comment in chambers. Did you want to make a public comment now? No. Okay. No general public comment in chambers, on Zoom as well. No hands raised.
Very well. Moving on to item 5, approval of the draft minutes for the Open Space and Regional Parks Commission meeting of July 23rd, 2025, and the Joint Parks Commission draft minutes from the June 26th, 2025 meeting. This is for possible action.
I do have one change to the, this is Tracy Kuzinski for the record. I do have one change to the draft minutes for the joint Parks Commission meeting, and it's admittedly a self-interested one, in that my last name is spelled incorrectly on page 2. It should be Kuzenski. Thanks.
As Commissioner Dake, I move that we approve the draft minutes for the Open Space and Regional Parks Commission meeting of July 23rd and the Joint Parks Commission draft minutes from June 26th.
Mr. Chair, before there's a second, I also saw another one. I'm shown as absent, but I was in attendance at that meeting. On page 2.
Very well.
With that modification, I'll second.
Very well. Motion has been made and seconded with the corrections. Do we have any public comment?
No public comment in chambers. I have no hands raised on Zoom.
Very well. Motion has been made and seconded to approve the minutes for both the July 23rd and the June 26th meetings. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Motion carries. Moving on to item 6, update on pros consulting work to develop a service plan for the possible creation of a park district. This is not for action.
Good afternoon. For the record, Eric Crump with Washoe County's Community Services Department. So many of you have been here for a while, have heard about our park service plan development. So we plan on having this item as a standing item over the next several months as we work through this. So for those who are new, I'm going to go through kind of a brief background as to how we got here. There's been several joint Park Commission meetings between City of Reno, City of Sparks, and Washoe County over the course of the years with various presentations over a park district. There was some enabling legislation back in 2017 that allowed for park districts within the state of Nevada, and we've kind of been working towards that. So most recently in May 21st of this year, the City of Reno approved a professional services agreement with Pros Consulting for the development of a surface plan for a potential park district. And on June 10th, our board approved an interlocal funding agreement with the City of Reno to contribute $100,000 towards that professional services agreement. So we have Pros Consulting under an agreement. They provided a presentation at a joint Park Commission meeting back in June 26th of 2025. Since then, staff has been meeting weekly with Pros Consulting. When I say staff from both City of Reno, City of Sparks, and Washoe County. We have a meeting every week to kind of go through. They were in town back in late July doing site visits and meeting with staff. And then most recently, they're actually in town this week. And because they're in town, we have representatives from Pros Consulting that can answer any questions you might have in addition to myself. So we have been trying to set up stakeholder meetings this week. We have some open spots on Friday. We have a couple of you scheduled for those spots, but we have spots at 8:30 and we have spots at 10:30. And I believe we only have 2 commissioners set up, one for each of those. We can have up to 4 commissioners in each of those interviews. If you're interested, I'll be here till the end of the meeting. We'll get you scheduled. They're going to be in person at Evelyn Mount. If those days and times don't work for you, we've got lots of time to be able to schedule either Teams meetings or phone meetings or whatever, but they are in town this weekend, and I encourage you to take advantage if you can. And we can arrange those at the end. Again, 8:30 slot and a 10:30 slot, and we have 3 spots without, and we can avoid a quorum with having 4 of you at each of those. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions, or if you have questions for Pros Consulting on the process, we should take advantage while they're in town.
Thank you, Director Crump. Any questions, comments from the commissioners?
This is Tracy Kaczynski for the record. I do have a question/comment follow-up, and this is going back to our previous item, which is the draft minutes for the Joint Parks Commission. There is on page 3, under item 6.1, A note that the total project cost is approximately $200,000 and is being funded through a cost-sharing agreement among participating entities, but Washoe County is shown as having no contribution there. So if it was in fact approved prior to this meeting, then perhaps the minutes should reflect that. Just a question.
Yes.
For the record, Eric Crump, yes, the Washoe County Board of County Commissioners approved that interlocal on June 21st, so it would have been prior to that meeting, and that was an agreement not to exceed $100,000 as contribution.
We'll have the corrected minutes reflect that, Mr. Roman. Thank you.
Speaking about this, proposed consulting fees and all that, I'll just speak to that.
Yes. This is Commissioner Gertler. I'm interested in participating in one of those interviews, but I can't on Friday. I'm out of town, so I'll just coordinate through Mr. Crump if that works. Okay, thanks.
I just process question. Director Crump, should I have received, this is the first time hearing about the meetings on Friday. I just want to make sure I'm not missing any communications.
For the record, yeah, there were several emails that went out. I believe they're going to your county established email.
Gotcha.
That may be the source of some challenges. I know Commissioner Joel, I had sent him, knowing that he doesn't check that email very often, I sent him to his separate email. And if you have a different email that you want us to communicate with you, please let us know.
Copy that.
Same, I don't have a county email, so.
I have those emails. We had a discussion. They weren't using the licenses were becoming an issue without them. Anyway, anything you would like to do, send to me, and I told them I would just disseminate it all for you guys. Make sure they get it.
Thank you.
Any further discussion from the commissioners? Hearing none. All righty. Thank you, Commissioner Crump, or Director Crump. Moving on, item 7, presentation, discussion, and possible recommendation to the Board of County Commissioners to approve an agreement between Washoe County and the Arrow Creek Homeowners Association to allow construction and designation of non-motorized access points for its residents on adjacent county open space and authorize the Director of Community Services Department, Mr. Crump, to execute the agreement and any temporary construction easements associated with improvements under the agreement. The Arrow Creek HOA will be responsible for all maintenance, construction expenses associated with this agreement. This is for possible action.
Okay, Joanne Loudon, I'm the Natural Resource Planning Coordinator for the record. So today I'm going to be talking about the Arrow Creek Homeowners Association Open Space Access Agreement. Here we go. So the county owns some open space parcels that surround the Arrow Creek development. Of course, we call these our Arrow Creek open space parcels. These parcels were acquired through dedication. These were part of the conditions of approval for the Arrow Creek development when it was originally established, so that's how we originally acquired these properties. And of course, the purpose of this agreement today is to allow the Arrow Creek HOA to install and maintain improvements at designated open space access points. And so you can see on the map provided, those little red circles, so those are those access points that they are currently proposing. Okay, so a little more detail on those access points. There's 5 of them that have been identified. One of them's at the end of Kachina Court. Another one at the end of Copper Cloud Drive. We've got one at the end of Crescent Moon Court, High Vista Drive, and then Kesta Court. So under this agreement, the Arrow Creek HOA would have several responsibilities. The first and most important is that they will be consulting with county staff and obtaining written approval for all the open access point locations and also for all the proposed amenities that they want to install. And this also includes the sign messaging, so we would be approving any messaging before it got installed. They would also be responsible for all of the costs associated with the design, construction, and maintenance of all the amenities that are installed. They would also be responsible for maintaining the improvements for the duration of the agreement. So Arrow Creek also agrees to allow non-motorized public access through the Arrow Creek HOA-owned property to the surrounding public lands. And again, this use is going to be consistent with their existing CC&Rs. So they do have some specific CC&Rs about public access. And currently what that means is that they allow recreational use, so pedestrian and bike use, but they do have to check in at the front gate before they're allowed through. They would also be, I put prohibit motorized vehicle access and parking on open space, and realistically, the county prohibits motorized access on our open space parcels, and really what we're asking the Arrow Creek HOA to do is basically discourage that use through signage and potential barriers such as boulders or fencing. And again, Arrow Creek is going to be completely responsible for managing and enforcing their conditions, covenants, and restrictions within the Arrow Creek subdivision, and that includes things like street parking, public access, and any other issues that may arise. The county will not be responsible for that. So the county's responsibilities under this agreement, we've agreed to provide planning assistance and approval of the improvement types and locations that they are proposing. We will monitor and evaluate the impacts of the open space access points on the creation of social trails, unauthorized motor vehicle uses and parking, trash dumping, and dog waste, and potentially identify mitigation measures. So what this means is that we'll be monitoring and making sure that we aren't taking undue natural resource impacts from these open space access points. And if we do identify something, we may suggest additional mitigation measures, whether it's signage, barriers, some other type of infrastructure to help reduce those impacts. We've also agreed to evaluate the potential to develop additional system trails and connections between the Arrow Creek HOA and adjacent public lands. So this is basically our staff evaluating future trail connections and future trails that we may want to have in that area. So this agreement is consistent with some of our existing plans. So for example, under the Regional Parks and Open Space Master Plan, which was approved in 2019, we have the goals to preserve open space, to have multi-purpose regional trail systems, and to provide public access to recreational amenities. It's also consistent with our recently acknowledged Truckee Meadows Regional Trails Plan, which again asks for trail connectivity, providing non-motorized access, and integrating developments with existing and planned recreational infrastructure. So some of the benefits that we see by entering into this agreement will be providing enhanced recreation access and connectivity for Arrow Creek residents and visitors, and also to provide information for all the trail users in the area through signage. Some examples of the types of signage we anticipate, appropriate use of the area, showing the Arrow Creek HOA and the county open space rules and regulations, providing maps showing the location of system trails and property boundaries, and some interpretive information designed to increase awareness and protect natural resources. We also hope to reduce unauthorized motor vehicle parking and access on the county open space, and we'll also set the framework for developing future system trails and connections to surrounding public lands. So any questions for me? We also have representatives from the Arrow Creek HOA, if anybody has any specific questions for them.
This is Commissioner Gertler. I have a question. Well, a couple questions just about the CCRs. So just to clarify, people would be able to, as long as they check in at the gate, and say they want to use these trails on county open space, they'd be able to park their vehicles at those 5 points on the roads and leave their cars there and then use the trails.
Yeah, so the Arrow Creek HOA does not allow street parking.
Okay.
And so right now, my understanding is they only allow pedestrian and bike access. So if you are on foot or on bike and you approach the gate and you say you want trail access, they'll allow you through, but you are not allowed to drive a vehicle in and park on the street.
Okay, that's accurate.
And I can, if you want to answer that too, if you have more information.
And then the second part of that question, so if, say, I mean, it seems logical that eventually this will connect into Thomas Creek. So people coming, riding bikes down Thomas Creek, I mean, do they need to check in going out of Arrow Creek, or what are you expecting from the public?
Do you want to answer this one, Julie? I'm going to turn this over to Julie Conway.
Thanks.
For the record, Julie Conway, and I'm an Arrow Creek resident and also chair of our volunteer landscape and trails committee within Arrow Creek. And today I have with me Stan Yeager, who is the president of our HOA. He's here, as well as Tom Reardon. He is a member of our committee and also a resident of Arrow Creek and an active recreationist. To answer your question, if they are in Arrow Creek, they can go out the trails. So that is ingress, egress. If they come into Arrow Creek, then they need to check into the front gate, which they typically do already. We have a lot of bicyclists that like to use our hills for training. So we have that happen quite often. So that's how that's approached.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Joanne, for your presentation. I have one question. This is regarding one of the bullet points. Allow non-motorized public access through Arrow Creek HOA-owned property surrounding public lands. And I bring this up because of e-bikes. And those of us that have to deal with e-bikes on a regular basis, as I understand Nevada law, bike lanes and paths, e-bikes are allowed in bike lanes, on streets, and on most paved multi-use bike paths. Class 1 and Class 2 e-bikes are permitted on bike paths, multi-use trails, and shared use paths. Now, Class 3 e-bikes are not allowed. How are you going to address this situation?
So I don't want to speak too much to that because that's really not something I'm very involved in. But what I'll say is that it will follow the county rules and regulations. So if we allow whatever class of e-bike we allow on that county open space property will be allowed.
Okay, thank you.
For the record, Eric Crump, and I can add some further clarification. We actually updated our county code, chapter 95, specific to parks a few years ago, and mirrored state law purposely so that if state law changes, our code changes. And basically right now, Class 1 and Class 2 e-bikes are allowed on our multi-use paths. Class 3 are not. So hope that helps.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I have another quick question regarding, so what's currently out? Is there just informal trailheads? I know this was probably a common open space development and that necessitated the dedication of the open space you're talking about. Was there not required to be trailheads at the time of that dedication?
That's a great question. I don't recall exactly what the conditions of approval were at that time, but I think the intent was to eventually have trails connecting into the Arrow Creek open space. It never actually got incorporated as part of the development. And so I think we're just sort of catching up now and identifying these areas and making them more official because currently the residents do access the Washoe County open space from these locations. It's just not formalized, so there's no signage, there's no amenities. And so this is really a way for us to put that infrastructure there and hopefully regulate the use a little bit better.
Okay. Yeah, I think this is a great thing. I think allowing public access through Arrow Creek and that trail system is great. Is there, it sounds signage kind of probably like dog waste stations and things like that. Is that just what we're going to see, kind of typical?
Yeah, I think for this first round, we're looking at signage, possibly some bike racks so that people could bike to those trailheads and potentially lock their bikes up for access. And probably dog waste stations would be the very first things.
Thank you.
As Commissioner Hill, I'm curious if I'm not seeing costs associated. It would just be essentially monitoring. So I guess my question is, will this increase the level of monitoring that the county already has in place for these open space areas?
It likely will, at least initially. Right now, our terms are that it's going to be county staff time as available. So, as our staff is available, they'll go out there and monitor those locations. I mean, the reality is they're already looking at those because, again, we do have quite a few social trails and quite a bit of access anyway.
Thank you. It seems like a good deal for both parties. I'm not seeing downside. I'm curious if you see any downside.
I don't.
Thank you.
This is Commissioner Dake. what do these actual access points look like? Are they, is there a kiosk there? Is there a map there? Is there just a sign says, don't come in if you're not registered? What do they look like?
Yeah, so we haven't actually designed all the sign messaging yet, and that's one of the things that Air Creek HOA is going to work with us on, is getting those, getting that messaging designed and figured out. But right now, there's nothing at any of those locations, and so as through this agreement, there will be signage, probably, like I said, maps showing the locations of the system trails and kind of where we want people to stay on the trail system. There'll probably be some rules and regulations, both for the Air Creek HOA. So what's the rule if you're going to enter, the community, and what are the rules if you're coming onto the county open space property?
Thank you.
Tracy Kozensky. I'm not familiar with these trails. I'm just curious, is there a plan to build them out more? Not build out as in, paved, but to make them more elaborate? Or are there existing trails that are just going to be, those are the trails that will be there forevermore? Or just what the infrastructure is?
Yeah, so staff, we do have quite a few existing system trails in place that are really close to the Air Creek community. And like I said, there are quite a few existing social trails that connect into those now. And so really our trail staff is going to be looking at, which current social trails can we convert to system trails, which may mean some minor improvements or small reroutes to make them more sustainable. And we'll also be looking at future trail connections. So where can we build new trail, for connections that make sense for the community as well as the public.
Sorry, Commissioner Baker, just one more follow-up question. We talked about pedestrian access through the front gate. I know there's, is it the Thomas Creek Trailhead there that has parking? I just want to make sure there's going to be adequate parking and signage so people generally know what's available and where to park, and more importantly, where not to park before they go.
Right. So once you enter the Air Creek community itself, there's no street parking allowed. So unless you're a resident or visitor, or like I said, if you're on foot or on bike, you can access those locations from the Air Creek community. Otherwise, the trailheads typically are located along Timberline Drive. So we've got the Thomas Creek Trailhead that has quite a bit of parking. We've got the lower Thomas Creek pullout that has quite a bit of parking. And then we've also got parking at Whites Creek Trailhead and all along Timberline Drive, street parking. So there's quite a few access points. There's also an access point further down, and I'm forgetting exactly the name of the road, but I want to say it's Callahan Ranch Road. There's another access point to one of the trails there.
Okay, Chair Jones here. Thank you, Joanne, for answering all our questions. I will entertain a motion.
This is Commissioner Hill. I move to approve, but I don't see language in front of me, so I might need some help on exactly how to word this. Oh, here we go. Thank you. So I move to recommend to the Board of County Commissioners to approve an agreement between Washoe County and the Arrow Creek Homeowners Association to allow construction and designation of non-motorized access points for its residents on adjacent county open space, and authorize the Director of the Community Services Department, Eric Crump, to execute the agreement and any temporary construction easements associated with improvements under the agreement.
One moment. Chair Joel has his hand raised.
Oh.
This is Commissioner Joel. Can you hear me?
We can.
Oh, thank you. I didn't seem that I had the ability to just unmute and talk on the Zoom setup. So I apologize. If you want to finish the motion and or the second, I'm going to need to abstain from this vote. So I can wait until you get to that part if you want.
Okay, Commissioner Joel will abstain from this vote. So the motion has been made.
This is Commissioner Gertler. I would suggest changing the motion to not just say for Arrow Creek residents, but say for public non-motorized access as well. I don't think it said that in there. I mean, I understand that's what the plan is, but I just want to make sure we're accurate.
Yeah. It's a good point. The motion as written only singles out residents, and I think the intent is for residents and non-residents of Arrow Creek.
Very well, then we need to amend the motion then?
Yeah, so we should amend the motion as to everything I said, and after for its residents, comma, and non-residents. How does that sound?
Very well.
That works for me, and I'll second that. This is Commissioner Gertler.
Very well. The amended motion has been made and seconded. Do we have any public comment?
I have Julie Conway in Chambers. Julie, you have 3 minutes. Please state your first and last name for the record. Thank you.
Yes, again, Julie Conway for the record, resident of Air Creek community. Thank you for your very cogent and insightful questions. I wanted to emphasize what Commissioner Kuzinski said, that this was originally supposed to be completed with the subdivision back in the mid-90s so that there could be access for those county residents who live in that area or throughout the community to go out to the neighboring community, and those trail connections were never made. So this is helping to set the stage for the future. As Joanne has stated, that the county is starting to, continuing to look at connecting the trails in South Valley, and it currently doesn't exist in all areas. So we as county residents are very interested in having this area be more developed as far as trails are concerned, and we really appreciate the county staff and what they've done to help us get to this point, and we thank you for helping to get us to the next step in helping to have these connections so that we can have access to areas outside that are outside of the Air Creek community. Thank you very much.
Chair Jones. Thank you, Julie.
There's no more further public comment in Chambers. No hands raised on Zoom.
Very well. The motion has been made. The amended motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Motion carries. Moving on. Item 8. Presentation and discussion on the Land and Water Conservation Fund Grant Award for the Swan Lake Nature Study Area Acquisition and Development Project. The LWCF grant funding will be used to purchase a 13.325 acre property located at 0 Lear Boulevard in Reno, Nevada, APN 568-100-12. The project total is $2,212,000. The grant award is $1,106,000, and the county match is $1,106,000. The purchase price of the property is $500,000, and the appraised value of the land is $3,830,000. The difference between the appraised value, $3,830,000, and the purchase price, $500,000 of the property will be donated to Washoe County, $3,330,000. A portion, $1,100,000 of the total in-kind value of the property donation, $3,330,000, will be used to meet match requirements, grant ID number KLWCF 32-00413. Thank you. Good luck, Joanne.
All right, Joanne Loudon, Natural Resource Planning Coordinator for the record. So I'm going to be talking about our Land and Water Conservation Fund grant for the Swan Lake Nature Study Area Acquisition and Development Project. All right, so for those of you not familiar with the Swan Lake Nature Study Area, this is up in the North Valley, specifically Lemon Valley, right off Lear Boulevard. Some fun facts about the Swan Lake Nature Study Area. This was designated as a Nevada Important Bird Area by the Lahontan Audubon Society in 1999. There's over 150 different bird species that have been recorded using that area. And of course, the namesake for Swan Lake is the tundra swan, which you can find there between November and March every year. They tend to overwinter at this site. They do not breed there. And of course, this is a very popular birding area for Reno. It's open to the public year-round. And we've got two sort of unique amenities on site. One of them is the outdoor classroom, and the other one is a floating dock. And so the floating dock actually allows the public and any kind of wildlife watchers, bird watchers, to walk out into the middle of Swan Lake and get a great 360 view of all the birds and all the wildlife that are used in the area. So Swan Lake has a long history of partnerships. There was a memorandum of understanding that was entered into with a group of partners for managing the Swan Lake area, signed in 1999 and again in 2001. Originally, there was a Swan Lake Advisory Board that was formed. That has since broken up, but we have reconvened more informally as the Swan Lake Working Group. So some of our current members and partners, we have the Lahontan Audubon Society, Nevada Land Trust. We've got the Bureau of Land Management, City of Reno, Nevada Department of Wildlife, the Nevada National Guard, and of course, Washoe County Parks. Nevada National Guard is worth noting. They are probably one of the largest landowners out there, and they use their property for training purposes. Okay, so we also had a master plan developed for the Swan Lake area. This master plan was originally adopted in 1997, and then updates happened in 2000 and 2012. We're currently under the 2012 plan. Some goals from this plan include enhancing wildlife habitat, protecting water quality, entering into collaborative partnerships, protecting our open space, providing recreation opportunities, fostering community support, and providing community education opportunities. Some other noteworthy priority actions that are identified in the master plan include acquiring the adjacent private parcel that's located at the very entrance to Swan Lake Nature Study Area, and also to restore Horse Creek where it runs through these properties. So I developed a scope of work for this grant application, and really it was based on a lot of our site management challenges that we have at Swan Lake. And I'm sure some of you have heard about the flooding that happens around the Swan Lake area. I know there's been a lot of ongoing issues about that over the years and a lot of public involvement in that. So as you might imagine, as a property owner along Swan Lake, we experience the same thing. So we have drastically fluctuating water levels, and we get quite a bit of flooding that results in damage to our infrastructure and loss of access, specifically to the outdoor classroom, but also sometimes to the floating docks as well, depending on how high the water is. We also experience quite a bit of erosion along the Horse Creek channel, and our main access road runs completely parallel to Horse Creek. So as Horse Creek is eroding, we are also in danger of losing our access road. We also have problems with trash and sediment deposition. I would say right now we're probably on a 5-year maintenance schedule where our maintenance staff have to go out and clean the sediment out of those ditches about every 5 years because they fill up pretty quick. We also have an issue with noxious weeds spreading throughout the property, and part of that is our neighboring property owners that don't treat their weeds. So that was kind of the background for how we came up with this scope of work. So number one, under the grant, we are trying to acquire the parcel that's privately owned right at the entrance to Swan Lake. You can kind of see, let me see if I can get my pointer to work here. Oh, yeah, so right about there, that's the entrance road, and it goes all the way up. That's our parking lot right here. So as you can see, both our access road and our parking lot are already on this property under a temporary easement. And so if we acquire this property, we're going to be able to actually do this restoration along Horse Creek, and it will allow us to divert some of this water into other parts of the property. It'll allow us to treat noxious weeds. It'll also allow us to create some additional wetland and riparian habitat. We're also planning to construct a raised boardwalk. The boardwalk would run from this parking area up to the outdoor classroom, and then it will connect into the main access path that goes to the floating dock. This area, anytime we experience a flood event or high water levels, this becomes inaccessible. This is also a place where we take excessive damage to our existing gravel path that's out there. It tends to erode every time we have a flood event. I think we've fixed it probably once a year since 2017. We also have quite a few interpretive signs as part of the nature study area, especially along the floating dock. So the scope of work includes doing a complete redesign, refabrication of all of our interpretive signage, also to make it more accessible. And then, of course, design and permitting for the Horse Creek restoration and flood mitigation. Okay. So here's some project benefits that we expect if we implement this project scope of work. So we're going to improve the ecological health and habitat diversity. We're going to reduce erosion along Horse Creek and along our access road. We're going to protect our existing infrastructure. We're going to provide year-round access to the outdoor classroom. We're going to improve accessibility, especially for our interpretive signage, and then we're going to reduce our long-term maintenance needs. So with this scope of work, I applied for a Land and Water Conservation Fund grant. We were awarded, we got $1,106,000 in grant funding through the Land and Water Conservation Fund program. This funding, of course, always has a pretty heavy match requirement, so we're required to come up with a 50% match in funds. And we're doing that with $6,000 worth of staff time for project management, plus we're getting a $1 million property value donation. And so this is where I go back to Nevada Land Trust actually helped us negotiate what's called a bargain sale for this property purchase, which means that the property owner agreed to sell it to Washoe County for less than the appraised value. So currently that piece of property appraised for $3,830,000. They've agreed to sell it to us for $500,000. So that means that Washoe County is taking a donated value of $3,330,000. But since the Land and Water Conservation Fund grant program will only allow us to count match for that property value up to the amount of the grant funds that we're asking for, that's why we're showing it as 1.1 million in property value donation match, even though technically we are actually receiving $3,330,000. So these grant funds have been accepted by the Board of County Commissioners. This was accepted on September 16th, 2025. And so our next steps will be to enter into the purchase and sale agreement with the private property owner to move forward with that purchase. And we're hoping to be able to take that to the Board of County Commissioners in the next few months. So any questions?
Chair Jones, thank you, Joanne, for getting all the nuances of this project, and especially the monies and how the monies are going and where they're going. So I'll open up to questions from the other commissioners.
This is Commissioner Gertler. Well done. Good job getting a big grant. So the way I'm reading it, there's $600,000 left after the purchase, and that's going to be enough for all those other things you mentioned, do you think, or?
Yeah, so the property value donation is providing the match for everything else. And yeah, so with $500,000 for the property purchase, there's a little over, $600,000. And yes, it is enough. It's going to be for design and construction of the boardwalk, the interpretive sign replacement, and it's basically going to be design and permitting for the Horse Creek restoration, not the restoration itself. So we're just getting set up because it's going to be a multi-year process to get the design work done.
Commissioner Kozinski, thank you. I have been out to Swan Lake and did a little bit of work with the Lahontan Audubon Society cleaning it up, so I know that it's a special place and there were lots of great birds out there. My question is, I seem to have lost my question. My question is what the adjacent landowners, how their land use is impacting the lake at all, and if you have an easy communication relationship with the landowners or any challenges?
So most of it is public land that's especially immediately adjacent to our parcel. So we've got the Bureau of Land Management, and right now they don't have any infrastructure on any of their parcels. It's all just open space. And then, like I mentioned, Nevada National Guard. Right now, most of their parcels are open space, and they use them as a training ground. But again, they have an interest in just keeping it open space with some trails and like some fitness type amenities because that's primarily how they use it.
Hi there, Commissioner Hill. Nice job, I agree. Big old grant. I'm curious, just out of curiosity, did you know the purchase price when you wrote the grant? Did they know it was going to be a $500,000 purchase price?
Yes, in fact, that's a requirement of the grant is we get a letter from the landowner stating that they're willing to sell at that price.
Okay, great. My other question is, isn't Swan Lake where recycled water goes? Am I making that up? I visited like a decade ago and I thought this was the location where we were putting recycled water.
As far as I know, it does take quite a bit of effluent, and as I recall, there was a water treatment plant, which I think has been decommissioned at this point. Eric, do you know more? I'm going to let Eric speak to that.
For the record, Eric Crump. So yeah, City of Reno has a sewer treatment facility, the Stead Treatment Facility, and they discharge some effluent to Swan Lake through Horse Creek, actually. So, Washoe County also owns a sewer treatment facility. It's primarily evaporative ponds, so there's very little, if any, discharge. It's pretty rare.
Yeah. It just seems to me, I know that there's recycled water is of interest. You know, it can be a long-term water renewal strategy. And so I was surprised I didn't hear about it here, because I think that is, some people might not want to talk about it, but I think it's a benefit to this area, is that it can be an example for that type of, you know, the one water cycle. So just say that as a comment.
Hi, Commissioner Uvera. Big shout out to you. Huge grant. As a fellow grant writer, not only did you score a big one, but you also explained it very well, because they are hard to break down. My question is on the Noxious weeds and what the plans were on removing that and like kind of keeping that maintained.
That is a great question. So in the past, we have used goat grazing quite a bit in the summertime. And again, our primary weed that we have out there is white top, so perennial pepperweed. So we have been using goats to graze it down in the summertime. That just helps it go to seed and kind of stresses it a little bit, or it helps it not go to seed, I should say. And we do have some plans to try to do more restoration in the future, which would include some herbicide treatments and possibly some reseeding. It would be really helpful for us to complete this property purchase first, so that we're able to treat some more of our adjacent properties as part of the project, because right now all the weeds are just still coming into our property. So it doesn't do a whole lot of good to treat just our patch, because we're continuing to get it encroaching from all sides.
I've got one more question. This is Commissioner Gertler. Bear with me, this is slightly off topic, but so there's controversy at Swan Lake, right? There's lawsuits. And my understanding is that the city of Reno is forced to release effluent there to maintain water quality in the Truckee River, right? So, and it's flooding neighborhoods at times. And I think they've made a lot of, headway in solving that, I think. But my question is, so with the restoration work and developing more wetlands out there, do you think this could be a part of the solution to flooding those neighborhoods?
So I think it will be a solution to the effluent and other floodwater that comes down Horse Creek specifically, but it's probably not going to have an impact in any other areas of Swan Lake where the neighborhoods are located, just because, again, this is really focused on the water and the flooding that we're getting out of that Horse Creek channel specifically. And there have been some developments that came in within the last few years in that area, so I think it's really going to help mitigate some of the effects from the additional stormwater, and again, just effluent and just, some of these events that we've been having lately where we have a high amount of precipitation in a short amount of time, and that seems to be the most damaging. So I think this project will really address a lot of those issues and, again, help us preserve our infrastructure specific to the nature study area.
For the record, and Eric Crump, just point of clarification. So Swan Lake, Lemon Valley is actually a closed basin, so no water can actually get to the Truckee River from there. That is part of the challenge that we see that was associated with the flooding back in 2016, 2017. I might remind you that we had 2 federally declared disasters during that time. It was a massive, massive winter. So I don't want to pretend to say that the discharge of effluent contributed to that at all. And there are lawsuits. We're not part of them. I don't want to speak to that. But certainly, from a scientific standpoint, wetlands do great things for water quality. There was actually an agreement between the city of Reno and Washoe County when Swan Lake was first developed that required them to discharge a very small amount of their effluent to Swan Lake. Those were during the dry years, so that, Swan Lake does dry up. There's a huge wildlife component to that, and we all recognize that. So I think that's important to share as well.
Thank you, Director Crump and Joanne. Excellent presentation. All righty. If there's no more questions, okay, moving on to item 9, present.
One moment, I do have public comment on Zoom.
Very well.
Okay, so Marissa Ernst, please unmute, state your first and last name for the record. Marissa? Unmute.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. My name is Marisa Ernst, and I'm a resident of the North Valleys. I'm also a member of the La Honte and Audubon Society, which is now changing its name to Northwest Nevada Bird Alliance, which is a little bit more descriptive. And our organization has long advocated for Swan Lake as a nature area, and has also been involved in the planning and creation of the nature study area from the very beginning. And we are excited about this discussion about the purchase of this particular land parcel. And we are looking forward to the planning process and being involved in the planning process for this parcel should the land purchase go through. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Moving on.
It looks like no more further public comment in chambers nor Zoom.
Thank you. Number 9, presentation and discussion on Davis Creek Fire restoration and reopening efforts at Davis Creek Regional Park.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. For the record, Nick Stoyer, Park Ranger, Davis Creek Regional Park. It's my pleasure to present to you today an update on the restoration efforts that have been taking place at the park since last year's Davis fire. So we all know September 7th last year, that's when the Davis fire broke out in the park. This is a picture of the park entrance on that afternoon. I think it started around 2 p.m. So this was shortly after that Davis fire started. The cause was determined to be an improperly extinguished campfire. An illegal campfire. It did start in the day use side of the park, not the campground, but they were not able to pinpoint any particular suspect or person. It was a wind-driven fire, rapidly burning a total of 5,824 acres of private, state, and federal land. The map on the right there shows the footprint of Davis Creek Regional Park. We ended up losing about 118 acres of the park by the fire, and it was 100% contained on September 25th of last year. This is a drone sort of picture, aerial view of some of the devastation. You've got the equestrian parking lot in the lower right-hand corner. You've got the Ophir Creek Trail coming up on the left. The maintenance building on the right, which still exists, but this kind of shows you some of that fire devastation. These are some more pictures. We lost the Ranger residence and garage shown on the left, the outdoor amphitheater in the middle, and our electrical infrastructure on the right. That was the big loss. Those were the biggest losses in the park. We calculated at least $2 million in total replacement costs, including the Ranger residence, infrastructure, 5 storage outbuildings, the outdoor amphitheater, utility trailer, signs, tools, fencing. This is a before and after picture of the registration sign at the entrance to the campground. Again, just kind of showing some of the damage that the fire caused. When I think of the fire and the results, I think of this phrase, "Up from the ashes, hope will arise." It means a couple of things to me. Number one, nature is very resilient. Nature will come back. We're already seeing a lot of plants, repopulating, which is really cool. Secondly, the outpouring of community support for this park and to get this park back open has been huge. We are getting so many people over the last year asking, how can we help? What can we do? What can we do? We want this park open. This means a lot to us. And so these next set of slides really show you that impact of the community support. Cub Scout Pack 150 has adopted the park, so they come and do service projects 2-3 times a year. We also had a local 4-H club come out and help. They are actually called the Leg of Lamb, Side of Beef, Slab of Bacon County 4-H Club. They came out a couple of times and helped by raking up pine needles from the unburned areas of the park and redistributing them to the burned areas. And so we were teaching the kids about how that helps, prevent soil erosion. It helps keep the temperature of the soil cool. It helps, maintain moisture. So it's just good for the restoration efforts. We did a native shrub planting in November. 50 volunteers came out. I put the call out for 50 volunteers, and we had a waiting list started 24 hours later. So again, the community's like, what can we do? We put in close to 700 native seedlings, 6 to 10 different species. Mulch was delivered by Truckee Meadows Fire and Rescue, and then spread around each plant by the county Juve crews and other volunteers. I've also had Charles River Labs volunteers come out and water the plants and pull weeds throughout the month of July and the hot summer. And those plants are doing well. I would probably say we're at about a 50 to 60% success rate, which is pretty darn good for plant. A venture scout, Clark Burns from crew number 7322, put some volunteers together and came out 2 times and helped to replace the burnt split rail fencing that surrounds the dirt equestrian lot. January, we did a native seeding, so 15 volunteers came out and helped us spread native seed over about 25 acres of the burn area. The seed was donated by Department of Wildlife and Division of Forestry. We used belly spreaders and rakes to kind of get that in. And so we're seeing a lot of wildflowers that have come up this year, as well as some other plants. So that's been really good. Hazard tree mitigation, this was a big one. Ongoing partnership with Division of Forestry, Truckee Meadows Fire, and Sparks Fire. But I will say Nevada Division of Forestry has taken the brunt of this on as far as helping us get these trees down. They sent in crews over the last year at different times to fell these trees, to limb them, to chip them up. Some of the trees have become firewood stash for the campground when we reopen. Some of them were left for soil stabilization, and others went to the mill down in Carson. And so NDF was huge to help coordinate that and bring in that labor to get these trees down so that we could allow public back in there safely. Aerial seeding, this is a shot in March. They brought in their helicopter NDF and used hoppers to spread seed in the upper elevation, private property, and federal land areas of the burn scar. And their plan is to work with us to apply a fall herbicide in the lower elevation county property, followed by a spring seeding. I don't know if they'll use the chopper for those, but they talked about possibly maybe drone application. So we are working with them on doing some reseeding as well. Eagle Scout Morgan De La Torre, Troop 20, she took this project on and utilized volunteer help and built or rebuilt the campground bundled firewood shed. So this is at the entrance to the campground where folks camping can purchase their bundled firewood. There's a little lending library on the side, and on the back there's a chalkboard for kids to make their mark instead of making their mark out in nature. We are planning on a native tree planting at the end of October. So next month, Moana Nursery has graciously donated to us 100 Jeffrey pine trees. And so we'll be putting a call out for volunteers soon to help us plant those. And the goal is to plant them around the eastern edge of the campground where we lost, a lot of the trees. So that is an upcoming project. We're working with a couple of local artists. The first gentleman, Mike Burke, he's a metal sculptor, and he has collected all of the burnt signs and shovels and tools that we lost in the fire, and he's building an 8-foot tall metal pine cone, and the bracts of the cone are the actual shovels and signs that we lost. And that sculpture will be installed near the entrance to the day use area with the hopes of having an interpretive sign there talking about fire safety and thanking the first responders. Concrete for the base of that is being donated by 3D Concrete. And Mike is donating his time and efforts to put this sculpture together, so we're thankful for that. Another local artist, Tim Terrell, he carves wood, and so he has already started carving at the park. The picture on the right is the tree stump in front of the office building. He's made a mama bear at the bottom with 2 cubs crawling up above her, and he's currently working on a horizontal piece which will have bench areas for kids and folks to sit on between other bears. We've identified about 7 or 8 tree stumps out in the park along paths or trails that he's going to carve into various wildlife related to the park and the area. So we're pretty excited. And again, doing all this in his own time and his own dime, he just wants to give back to the negative situation. Some future projects. I mentioned the native tree planting happening hopefully at the end of next month. We're working on reconstruction of the electrical infrastructure and the ranger residence. I believe we're in the design phase right now for those projects. I'm working with a couple of other Eagle Scouts as well. One scout is committed to rebuilding the outdoor amphitheater so we can continue doing programming there. Another 2 scouts are going to be rebuilding some sign structures. So the registration sign structure at the entrance to the campground will be taken care of by one scout, and another scout will be taking care of the larger firewood storage shed in the maintenance yard itself. And then Eagle Scout Nolan Yount is going to be replacing 10 older, shallower fire rings within the campground with deeper, safer fire rings, which we acquired at no cost from TMCC. They had a welding competition about a year or 2 ago, and they just gave us 10 deep, round fire rings. So we thought, well, let's replace the shallow ones that are not very safe with these deeper ones. So this Eagle Scout's going to help with that. The other unique thing about the restoration efforts is the outreach that we've been able to do. Teacher Julie Coop in Carson City, she has a high school biology class, and she brought them out in November, and they did some transecting. So she got to teach them, how do we survey the vegetation. So they set up some transects, and they're actually going to come back out this fall and do transecting again and compare, revegetation data versus burn data. So kind of gives the students an opportunity to utilize the park for learning. Wild Nevada did an episode called Living with Wildfire. It premiered on PBS Reno in January. I got to hike through the burn area with Chris Orr, the host, and talk about the effects of wildfire on recreation and on the land. It was a very comprehensive look at that. If you haven't seen that episode, I would highly encourage. She also interviews local trail builders, local soil scientists, local weather people, and just looks at this whole thing of how does fire affect our recreation and our land, and how do we learn to live with it. So that was a neat outreach opportunity. Other media outreach, the news stations have certainly done plenty of coverage as far as our closure and our restoration efforts and partial reopening. So we currently have the day use side of the park open. We opened that 2-3 weeks ago to the public, so folks can drive into the park, they can access the pond, the picnic areas, the trails, but the campground and the equestrian lot remain closed at this time until we get that infrastructure ready and we're ready for campers. Galena Times, there was an article done in Galena Times earlier this year, and then a couple of interviews, Colo 8 Morning Break and Reno PBS podcast interviews. So lots of media outreach. I also got in touch with fire ecology professor Erin Hanan at UNR, and she brought her 30 students out in April to learn about restoration efforts. So I kind of gave a little talk about, the fire and what we were doing. And then again, they did some transects as well, much more in depth, using burn code index and lots of math, which is way over my head, but they were able to kind of use that opportunity to apply some of what they're learning in class. So that was a neat thing to do for them. In April, we also did a Junior Ranger Activity Day where we, even though the park was closed to the public, we allowed 25 kids and their parents to come into the park. And we hiked through the burn area with them, and we talked to them about fire and its effect on the landscape. So here we are kind of sitting in the remains of the benches at the amphitheater talking about how fire is actually good and healthy for the forest, but it needs to be managed properly. And so that was a good opportunity for them. And then in July, we actually did a Reno, Reno Public Market, the general manager reached out to me and said, Nick, I grew up going to that park. I love that park. I want to give back. I want to put together a fundraising event for you guys. And I said, okay. So he put it under the umbrella of Art Town. It was held on July 19th. This event actually raised just over $6,000 for the fire restoration efforts. And I pulled up the numbers. We had 19 people use the online donation link that was created to donate $4,975, and then we had a handful of people in person donate about $1,500 in cash and checks. So total was just over $6,000 going into the fire restoration account. I did this presentation that I'm doing for you now at that event, and there were multiple speakers at the event. The Sierra Alphorn players performed as well, and we did an art auction, which is where a lot of that funding came from. So that was a fun event. I kind of ended the presentation then with what can you do? So asking the public to please be patient, respect park and trail closure notices, obviously be fire aware, please practice leave no trace principles. Volunteering, we're always looking for volunteers, so a way for them to volunteer, and then obviously, donations are welcome. The end. Any questions?
Chair Jones here. Thank you, Nick. That was an excellent presentation there with just a ton of information, and it's very gratifying that the public is really getting behind restoring the Davis Creek campground, and it's it just, it really warms my heart to see the public step up and take care of our parks. Any comments, questions from the commission?
All right. Thank you.
I just have a comment. Thank you. This is Commissioner Kozinski. I really appreciate that presentation. I have not been to Davis Creek Park, but I have been to the Browns Creek Trail. I don't know if that's part of the same park or if it's just close by, but have seen firsthand the impacts of the fire, of that fire. And it's really, it is hopeful because you can see the vegetation coming back, but it's also profound. It's a profound difference. And so I appreciate your efforts and that you are really rallying the community around the improvements at the park. So thank you.
Thank you.
Any public comment?
I have no public comment in chambers. I have no hands raised on Zoom.
Very well. Thank you. All right, moving on. Item 10, Parks Reports.
Oops. Hi there, good afternoon, Commissioners. Stephanie DRC, Operations Superintendent for Parks. So as you know, this is my time to brag on the staff in our department and the many programs, offerings, and projects that we've been working on. It's fall, but we remain busy as we move into that season, and I don't expect that to change anytime soon. So at our May Museum, our curator, Wes, is working with the UNR Fleischmann Planetarium. They're currently undergoing some restoration and renovation. So we are working with them to see if we can get some pop-up dome presentations in the museum, working with that group to provide some additional education opportunities for our field trips in the spring and just our general visitors as well. So we're excited to be able to offer that additional program. In partnership with Keep Truckee Meadows Beautiful, the Truckee River Cleanup was held on September 13th. There were 27 sites throughout the community. Washoe County sites included Crystal Peak, Duraskar, Betsy Collin Donnelly, Lockwood, and Rancho San Rafael Regional Park. Throughout the entire event, 95.2 tons of waste and weeds were removed. So it's obviously a very important event to be a part of, and we're very thankful for them to organize that. Park Rangers hosted 3 successful skate jam events in partnership with Classic Skate Shop and We Board Together. Those were at North Valleys Regional Park, Cold Springs, and at Lazy 5. They included free skateboarding lessons for kids, demos, and a best trick contest, and they were very well attended. Peavine Park Rangers this morning, actually, we're visiting Glen Duncan Elementary School and providing an assembly for the school to talk a little bit about park ranger as a profession. A lot of people don't think about Parks and Rec as a true profession, and we think it's very important to get to kids young to let them know that that can be a pathway for them. We also were highlighting our Junior Ranger program through those programs as well. We will also be at Westergaard on October 3rd to do the same. And a request for proposal, an RFP, was advertised for Lazy 5 Regional Park Master Plan update, and it just recently closed on September 18th. We received 7 proposals, and we're currently reviewing them, and we'll be discussing next week. So we're looking forward to awarding a consultant contract in October and moving forward with that plan. It's an exciting opportunity to engage with the public on what they want to see in their public parks. A full master plan was last done in 1998. So in the 1900s was the last full master plan, and an amendment to the plan began in 2001 to accommodate the water play park. So it's time. If you know that area, you know that it's grown substantially in the last couple of decades. So we're excited to make the changes that need to be made to that master plan. A volunteer appreciation breakfast was held in the Lear Garden for the Arboretum volunteers during the early mornings of the media day at the Great Reno Balloon Races. It's bright and early, so we get to see the balloons going up. So it was a beautiful view and a wonderful way to thank those volunteers for their hard work. And then we also celebrated the retirement of Jen Conlon Thompson, our park maintenance supervisor in the South. In turn, we welcomed Cal Arsenault, who is here with us today. He brings a wealth of knowledge from his background in golf, and we're excited to have him. And finally, I wanted to update you to let you know we've created a process. Nick talked about it briefly, but we've created a process by which online donations can be taken for the department. In the past, we were very thankful to take cash or check, but as we all know, times have changed and people are looking for an online opportunity to do so. So donors can visit our website, you select the support tab, and you can make a donation of any value while directing your contribution to whatever park, project, or special interest you may have. So we are excited to be able to provide QR codes at our park programs so that they can easily reach that donation page and provide support should they want to. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Chair Jones, thank you. Excellent report. Superintendent D'Arcy, do we have any questions, comments, public comments?
No public comment in chambers, no hands raised on Zoom.
Very well.
Okay, thank you.
Moving on. Item 12, Commissioner requests for future agenda items. Oh, I am sorry. Moving on. Director Crump, Director's report, please.
Thank you. For the record, Eric Crump, Washoe County's Community Services Department. I just have a few updates here. Let me get to my notes. A few of the actions the board has taken since your last meeting on August 26th. We accepted our quarterly donations, about $5,600, primarily from the Lazy Five Summer Music Concert Series. And they also appointed our most recent park commissioner. Welcome, Commissioner Jennifer Uvera. All right. So welcome. We now have 9 commissioners. You cannot leave. You have to fill. You have to fill your seats. So no, we appreciate your commitment and your engagement. This is an exciting time, and welcome. And then on September 2nd, the State of the County address was held. So hopefully, if you didn't attend or didn't watch it, it is live on our YouTube channel, and I encourage you to watch it. There's 4 short videos that kind of highlight what the county has been doing over the course of the last several years. And then on September 16th, as you received a presentation earlier, we accepted the Land and Water Conservation Grant that Ms. Loudon had talked about associated with Swan Lake. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Chair Jones, Director, could you update the commission on the item at the last meeting regarding the open space where there was a utility easement across one of our open spaces? Could you update the commission on that?
I might defer to Division Director Aaron Smith. He's been working on that item.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. For the record, Aaron Smith, Division Director of Operations. So I believe the item that you are referring to is the Lockwood Open Space easement application by NV Energy. Staff went back to NV Energy, reopened up negotiations. During the negotiations, we found out further information about the use and application of the gas line that was proposed, and the application of it was for a single property owner, which under the easement application or land use easement application is considered a private easement and therefore not compatible with giving of county land. So we referred that back to NV Energy, and it's not going further unless we hear something different.
Very good. Thank you, Director Smith, for that update. Any questions, comments, public or from the commissioners?
I have no public comment in chambers. I have no public comment on Zoom. It's just a reminder to announce next meeting, date and time, the date and all that, please.
Very well. Yes. Thank you, Mr. Roman. The next meeting, because it's November, and the fourth Sunday usually drops right on Thanksgiving, that it has been moved to November 19, which is the third Wednesday. And let me check and make sure I have the correct date.
We'll be meeting a week earlier, same time, right in here, 1:30 in Chambers, the 19th. Of course, I'll set another reminder towards the end of October.
Yes, thank you. So put it on your calendars, November 19th at 1:30 in Chambers or via Zoom. Very well. Now, getting back to item 12, Commissioner request for future agenda items. Hearing none. Moving on to item 13, any public comments?
I have no public comment in Chambers. I see no hands raised on Zoom.
Very well. Item 14, I will entertain a motion to adjourn. Very well. Do I have a second?
A second.
Very well. Motion has been made and seconded to adjourn. The time is 2:50. This meeting is now adjourned.
Recording stop.